Welcome to the WiSys Inventory Physical Cycle Count webinar.
With WiSys, in Macola, you can do a Macola physical count or you can do a cycle count. WiSys is the tool that's used to enter your count tags and to take a look at your variances, and we add a layer for serial counting and for package counting of your pallets. So we don't care if it's a physical count or if it's a cycle count. Generally, many companies will do a physical count if they are going to do a full physical inventory count and they're going to stop operations. Oftentimes that's annual, maybe biannual, whatever works best for your company. Also, many times companies will try to do cycle counts. Cycle counts are much less disruptive to your daily operations, and they are to provide an ongoing measure of your inventory accuracy, to reset that and to make sure that it is always correct. As you're going through doing that, there are many different ways that you can do those cycle counts and set those cycle counts up. We will be talking a little bit about the different ways that you can do that, but it's really about what best fits your company. So as part of this, we will take a look at Agility Mobile. That is the tool that is used for the streamlined tag entry. So that will be on the handheld application, and you will scan all of the tags that are created, and then extra tags are created on the fly as they're needed, and they're created there. We'll then go into Agility Explorer, and we will take a different look at all of the different variance reports, and we will review, if you're serialized or palletized, how to take a look at what's in there and how to make adjustments to your serial layers and your pallet layers, and then the posting of the serial and pallet layers before it's posted in Macola. So really quick here, I have put together a couple polls out of our audience. We have a very large audience today, and I would like to throw a poll out here and see how many of you are currently doing a type of inventory count. So I'm going to push a poll out to you right now and go on ahead and take a minute here to answer this poll. I'm going to throw one more out here at you. If you're doing a cycle count, can you tell me how it is you're processing that? Are you doing it in Macola? Are you doing it in WiSys? Are you using paper tags and doing manual adjustments, or are you just adjusting them as you find them? Or right now you're not doing anything? All right, I'm going to go on ahead and close that poll. And it looks like 43% of you guys are using the inventory counts in Macola. 21% are using WiSys. 13 are paper tags with manual adjustments. And 11% are doing manual adjustments as found, with another 12% doing none or something else. So wow, okay. With that information, let's get started, and we will show you how you can use WiSys to help you in that process. And if you're already using it, maybe there's more in here that can help you streamline the process even more. So with the inventory count steps, when you're using WiSys, the first thing that we're going to do is WiSys uses Macola, and Macola is where we go on ahead and we create the batch. We will either create a physical batch or we can create different cycle count batches. It doesn't matter which one, either, and you can have multiple cycle count batches or different physical counts if they're doing different locations at the same time. So basically, you're going to create those in your Macola software, and it's pretty much the same. We will walk through the process today, and we are going to do it in ES or EM10. We're going to do it in the ES screens there, and we're going to do those processes in there. It's pretty much the same for Macola. There is some differences where in the back-end data it will write user information with comments versus that's not necessarily in progression, but other than that, everything is pretty much the same. The next thing that you're going to do is go in and do your tag entry. And tag entry happens in Macola, or I'm sorry, in WiSys, using the Agility Mobile. on the handheld. And there are various different ways you can do tag entry. You can do it by bin or by item, or you can do it by tag count or just those particular tags. And if you're palletized, you would enter in a pallet physical inventory application to count by pallets. So you will use one of those, and that's best determined by you and what best fits your company. The next thing is, once you go through and you've entered all of your tags, you will do a review. And when we do the review, we go into Agility Explorer. And in Agility Explorer, we can look at our current count tags. What's the status of them? Which ones aren't counted? And we can set them to 0 if they need to be. Or we can go find and fix those particular tags. We can look at the pre-post audit reports by variance or by cost or quantity. So we will take a look at those. And then if you are serialized and you are adjusting your serial numbers in the system, we will go into serial problems to review and the serial variance by tag, and you can reset and recount as you need to there. And then we'll go into palletize. So if you're palletized and you will be doing a pallet count, same thing. There's a pallet problems to review and a pallet variance report that we will check out. Once you are satisfied with your reporting and you go through your variance reports, you will, and you've looked at your serialized tags if needed and pallet tags if needed, you will then post the serial numbers and then post palletized if you're using pallets before you do the Macola post. WiSys adds that serial count layer and the pallet layer, and we do have tables for that. So if you are of the tech type and you want to do reports or you want to take a look at those, WiSys has a WS serial tag file, and when you post your serial numbers, it posts them to the WS serial tag history, the same as the tag has a tag history. We have a serial history. We also have a WS-PKG, a package tag file, TAG-FIL, and when it gets posted, it goes to a package tag history table. Once you have the serialized and the palletized items posted, you then go post the Macola posting routine, and that will post the inventory after those have been adjusted, and they then match the quantities that's getting posted with the physical inventory. So those are the steps to using WiSys to create and streamline your inventory counts. So if you are going to go into Macola, you can come in and you can create your physical count selection. So on my screen here, we have a screenshot of the physical count select here. And one thing that is different when you are going to use WiSys is you will enter in your batch ID and create them as you would in Macola. When you come down to the number of extra tags, you do not create extra tags, so your entry is going to be 0. WiSys will create extra tags as they're needed if you have additional ones for that particular item bin location. So make sure that your number of tags is set to 0. And then the rest of it, you basically can determine if you are going to, how you want everything sorted. If you want to exclude 0 quantities, that is up to you then for that. Now, if you look to our support page and you look at our online documentation under the inventory count, it will tell you that we don't recommend that you use frozen quantities and calculations. We do have customers that check that box, and we have some customers that don't. The biggest thing that we don't recommend is that you're transacting activity while you are counting your physical count or your cycle count. And that just comes from experience of seeing people that it makes the counts much harder to do if you are transacting behind the scenes for various different reasons. So you can set up your physical count selection, or you can set up a cycle count selection. So when you come into the cycle count batch, you're going to do the same thing. You are going to give it a batch ID. you can go on ahead and filter your cycle count by the many different ways that Macola allows you to create your cycle count. So you can do that by, you're going to enter in your location. You can then do it by your ranges of bins or product categories, or you can use the vendor or the ABC count or the cycle count. That is determined by the best practice for your company. There are many ways to do a cycle count. Many people will use the Pareto method, where you are going to take 80% of your sales, that is 20% of your inventory. And those are the things that you want to make sure you get counted, 4 to 6 times a year. So those are going to be in a cycle count code where you are cycling through all of those top items multiple times through the year. So you may be doing a weekly cycle count. It may be a daily cycle count. But then you're going to select the items that aren't as popular by volume or dollar or whatever that is you decide. And you're going to maybe count those twice a year. And those would maybe be in a different cycle count. Or you cycle through the items that are in that particular category 2 times a year, and you can do it that way. Other people will assign cycle counts based upon, maybe it is the value, so it could be the higher dollar value. It could be that it is a faster moving item and they want to make sure that it's always on hand, so they want that to be their top cycle count, and that's how they want to isolate inventory. We've had people who, they're seasonal. So if they are a shoe distributor or a shoe store, they want to cycle count their product by season. So boots are going to be a cycle count category, so that when winter is coming, they can pull that cycle count and make sure that they're actively counting their boots. Whereas sandals have a different cycle count because they need to count them at a different time in a different season, and they don't need to do that in winter time. Another one is where they use the product category. So they have appliances, and they may have refrigerators, and then they have stoves, but they do Whirlpool and they do Samsung. Sometimes they need to count all of the Whirlpool product. Sometimes they need to count all of the refrigerators. So they may give all the refrigerators a cycle count code of R, and they may then do a combination of R for all the refrigerators, or if they want to do all of the Whirlpool product, their product category gave them the ability to pull everything Whirlpool. So it's kind of, you have to work with your McCollough or your reseller, or we certainly can help you determine what is the best way for you guys to do your cycle count and what fits your company. But within that, you're going to use McCollough to create your cycle count batches. You will come through here and then decide are you going to exclude your zero quantities? Do you want to include negatives? But then when you get down here to the number of extra tags, again, you're going to enter 0. And we do recommend you don't use frozen quantities, mostly because you shouldn't transact during those batches. So that is setting up your batch in Macola, and we're going to walk through this process. So let's go on ahead and actually walk through and take a look. So I am going to open up my virtual here, and we are going to open up Macola. And today we're going to walk through creating a couple of cycle count batches. And I am going to come in here, and I'm going to, in Macola, create a cycle count select. And your naming convention for your batch, again, is user defined. I'm going to use the date. Actually here, hold on. I see my dates off here in my virtual world here. It's okay, it doesn't matter. So I am going to create my cycle count select, and my date on here is 17/09/30, and this is I'm going to do a cycle count batch of A. So I put A-A after here. I am going to do all items in that batch. My location is MA. I'm going to do all bins and all categories, all vendors. You can use ABC code, of course. I have a cycle count code set up on my items of A, And then I am going to come down here and I'm going to exclude the 0 quantities for my bins. And I'm going to, I don't have negative quantities, but I'll go on ahead and say exclude that. When I get to my extra tags, I'm going to enter 0. And then I'm going to uncheck my box. I like to see this for me, but not for my users, but they won't see the reports. They're not using paper. So I'm going to click OK. And if I run this up to screen here, I can see that I have 5 items in my cycle count batch here. So I've got my couple of different items here that are not binned. And then I have an item here that is just binned. And then I have a couple of items here that are serialized and binned. So I'm going to close that batch. And then I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to create a different one. And again, I'm going to, this is going to be my P batch, my cycle count code of P. And I'm going to come down here. I don't think I have any zeros or negatives, but I don't want to see them. My number of extra tags is 0. Oops. And I'm going to go on ahead and show my computed quantity. I'm going to click OK. And I'll just run it up the screen here. And you can see here that I have my AWES, some awesome sauce here in my batch. And I'm going to close that. That item happens to be palletized, so that's what we're going to use to do a pallet count. And when I'm done creating my batches, I close out of here. So my next step is I can open up Agility Explorer. And in Agility Explorer here, I'm going to come into my inventory section here. And in my inventory section here, I'm going to go on ahead and collapse everything because I know that my inventory counts are clear down at the bottom here. So I'm going to close that, and then I'm going to open up my inventory count, and I'm going to open up my reports. And inside of here, I'm going to go to my cycle count tag status. I'll close my, hold on for a minute. Let's go back here. I'm going to choose close all and get rid of my auto dashboards here and open up just the cycle count tag status. So in here, I'm going to open up my filters, and I have my batch ID of A that I created. And if I go on ahead and open that up, I can see my cycle count tag status. So the same thing that was on that report, I can see right here with my tag numbers. I can see the frozen snapshot here of what was at there when I created my batch. I can see that I haven't counted any, my current cost, and what my variance is. So my first step in counting this is I'm going to open up Agility Mobile. So I'm going to take my handheld. Now, I don't have a handheld, but I'm going to open up the virtual desktop handheld. And so I'm going to close this down and open my Agility Mobile here. Now, you guys are familiar with Agility Mobile here, so I can start it with the skin so it has a gun around it, or I can do a normal, which is just the screen that happens on Agility Mobile. And I'm going to open up my company here. And you can see the applications up top here that I have been granted access to. And these are for my cycle count applications here. So the different ways that you can do the cycle count, I have a count by bin, count by item, count by tag, and then I have my pallet physical inventory if I'm counting pallets. So I'm going to open up the count by item first, or let's do a count by bin. So we're going to do a count by bin, and I am going to go to my first bin. So I have my batch ID, and I am going to scan my batch ID. Oops. Let's see. Oh, I don't match because I didn't fix my dates here. I was trying to make some history here. So I'm going to do a lookup here. So again, they could type in the batch ID. They can scan it if you want to give them a scan card for the batch, or I can do a lookup. I am going to do my batch ID A, and then I am going to go to my item, and I walked up to my bin. So I'm going to go on ahead and scan my bin. Whoops, if I am on my screen. And then I am going to scan my item that is in that bin. And then I am going to enter in how many I have for that bin. Now I'm going to put 99. I happen to know I have 100 in here, but I'm going to go on ahead, and they can either hit enter or twice there, or they can choose the count button, and it will count for them, and that has been recorded on that particular tag. So that is the cycle count by bin, and it's just a matter of how you want to enter that. When they are done with this one, they can simply choose close. And now we're going to take a look at the cycle count by item. So I'm going to go open up the application, cycle count by item. And in this instance, again, I'm going to go on ahead and do a lookup here on my bin or my batch. And then I'm going to come in here, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to scan a serialized binned item. So I'm going to my product, and I'm going to go on ahead and scan that item. And it's going to go down. It knows it's binned. So it's saying, what bin are you in? And I'm going to scan my bin. And then it knows it's serialized. So it's going to ask me, what are the serial numbers that you're counting? So I'm going to go on ahead, and I'm going to scan my serial number. And you will see that I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to show me it's on tag 1, and I have counted 1 serial number. Well, I have more in my bin, so I need to keep scanning. So I'm going to keep scanning the serial numbers that are in here. And you can see that so far I've counted 3 of them. And I'm going to go on ahead. I've got 4 pieces in my bin here, or 5 pieces. So I'm going to go on ahead, and I've counted everything that's sitting here into my bin. So once I am done with that, I am simply going to hit clear. And it's going to go back up, and it's ready for my next item. So I'm going to go to my next item, and I am scanning my item. Now, you may want to do this by bin because they're walking through and they're doing it by bins. We're doing this one by item. So the next thing it's asking me, it knows it's binned. And I am going to then scan my serial numbers. And I'm going to keep scanning for each of the serial numbers that I have. And in this instance, I'm going to scan one of them that is short. So it should show me in my variance report that I am missing a serial number. And we will look at that in our variance reports here in just a little bit. So I'm going to go on ahead, and I'm going to click clear. And I'm going to go back up to my next item. My next item is a serialized item, and it is not binned. So when I scan my item here, if I would scan the right one, I'm going to scan my item, and you'll notice that this isn't a binned item. So the bin just hid, and it's not asking me for a bin. It's taking me straight to the serial number. So I'm going to go on ahead and scan my serial numbers, and it's going to show me how many I've counted, so that if the user needs to know how many they've counted. And I'm going to go on ahead, and I'm going to scan a different serial number just for fun, so we can see what it's going to do there. And so I counted 5. So there are actually 5 there in my inventory, but we'll take a look here at the serial numbers. Now, if you need to take a look at from here, they can do, let's say they need to make a change. They can do a count tag. So I saw that this was tag 599, I think. And it's going to take me into a cycle physical count by tag. which lets you do the same thing here. I'm going to look up my batch number, but I can pull up existing tag numbers that are already out there, and it can tell me that it's going to recount that tag or create. So if I were to go on ahead and I'm going to scan this item, oops, it's telling me it's already been counted. But if I needed to make adjustments to it, I can pull that up here and make adjustments to it. And when I'm done with that, I click close and I go back to my count by item or my count by bin. If I would like to see the serial lot history, they have a button here that they could see. I should have pulled it up when I had the serial lot number in there, and it would open up and you could see the serial lot history information. When you are done counting the inventory, you will simply close this. I'm going to go on ahead and hit clear, and I am going to scan my last item, and it is not binned, serial, or lotted. So when I choose that item, you'll notice the bin isn't there. It's not asking me for a bin. It's not asking me for any other information, and I can enter in how many I have. So I'm going to put that I have 999 and choose my count, and I am done. So I am going to go on ahead and click close. Now, my other batch, I have a palletized item. So I am going to choose my pallet physical inventory. So I'm going to go on ahead and open up my pallet physical inventory, and I can scan, enter, or look up my batch. And these can all be in the same batch if they need to be both. I have them in individual batches. So then what is my bin number for this particular item? And I'm going to go on ahead and scan my bin number. And then what is my package or my pallet that I am working with? So I'm going to scan my pallet or my LPN, and then how many do I have sitting on that pallet? And I go on ahead and count that. And then I am ready to count the next pallet if I have multiple in that bin. And I'm going to go on ahead and count that one. And I happen to have 5 in here. So I'm going to say there's only 9 sitting on that pallet. And there happens to be 10, but I accidentally hit 0, or I'm going to put 10. And then I'm going to scan my last pallet. Whoops, I did it so fast. Let's see what happens here. So here I have my pallet 186, and I entered 186 here. So I'm probably going to need to correct that as I get going here. So there is my pallet scan, and I am going to go on ahead and close out of here. And now I am going to go on ahead and open up Agility Explorer. So in Agility Explorer, we have our cycle count tag status. If I do a refresh on my screen, you will see that I can tell here are my tags that I counted. Here are my monitors. This item was not serialized. I had 5. I counted 5. There's no variance. Here is my monitor. Again, I had 5. I counted 5. There is no variance. On my other one, though, I only counted 4. This is a serialized item, so we will take a review there. And again, here, there's actually 100. I counted 99 in both of these variances here. So I'm going to also open up my cycle count tags, not counted. And I'm going to take a look at my batch. Excuse me. And pull up my batch here in my cycle count, and I have nothing uncounted. If I did not count a tag here, or if I had left that out, I would come in here and I would see that there were additional tags not counted. So for instance, on my pallet one, I actually have some in a ship bin because they're in a shipping lane, and I did not count those. So I can come in here and I can choose to go on ahead and zero these out. I wouldn't do these. These are sitting out there waiting to be shipped. But whatever is in here, then I can come in here and either check all of them or I can check whichever ones I'm okay with and then marking them as counted with a 0 count. If that's not okay, I can send my people back out to the warehouse and say, hey, this didn't get counted, go find it, or go verify it really is 0. And so it's very easy for me to do and then mark those as counted and see where the status of that is. So I'm going to close out of those and let's go take a look at our variance report. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up our quantity variance. And in here, again, you are going to first pull up your batch. I'm going to pull up my batch ID. And then the next thing I'm going to do is asking me, what is my quantity variance greater than or less than? So I don't care about things that are maybe off 1 or 2 or whatever, 5 or 10 or whatever your threshold is. So you can enter in that number here, and it's only going to show you things that have a variance greater than that. I'm going to leave it at 0 at the moment, and I'm going to click OK, and I can see that I have some variance here where I'm short. So I can see my variances, I can see my dollar amounts here, and if I change my criteria here, I should have did 1 with 2, but if I enter in 1, this is only 1 or greater. So all the ones that were 0, they're gone. So it's a very easy way to put in that threshold for you and filter down to what you want to focus on first most to know where your counts are off or where you need to go double check. That is the by quantity. In here, I can, if I have account history, I can go on ahead and look at account history here, and it will show me things that I have counted previously looking at the history tag files. If I want to look at the inventory transactions because I want to know what's happened, what maybe caused that to be off, I can choose my inventory transaction history here, and it will show me all the inventory transactions that have happened and that are in the inventory tricks file. So here I can see what's happened. I received it, I transferred it, where did it go? This is where it can help you do the research to try to find, why is it off if it's substantial. When you're done, just close those screens. I can also mark things counted here. And if I have serial number tags, I can go on ahead and down here, if I'm on the tag for that item, I can take a look at the serial numbers that were counted for that particular item. And so that may also help me do some research as to what might be off for that particular item. I'm going to open up my pre-post by cost variance. So again, I enter in my batch, and I'm going to enter in my cost variance. So I'm going to enter 0 in the beginning here. And I'm seeing the same thing, basically, except I'm seeing my dollar variances, and that's how it's going to decide what to show me. So my focus here is looking at it by the dollar amount. What do I want to see it being off by for that dollar amount? So if I want to enter in, say, we'll put 10, the 0 and the $4 should basically drop off. And it's going to focus me on what's the most important to go double check, recheck, and count before I'm satisfied. Again, I have the same buttons for looking up account history if I have posted these particular items and the transactions, and I can mark it counted here. If this is a palletized item, and I am using my pallet count, again, this is my pallet cycle count. I can see here that with that, I also can go look up my pallet tags. So these are the pallet counts that we entered, and these were the different packages that we counted and the quantities for that. So I can see very easily by pallet also where are my differences coming from. So here I can see my variances, and I can see my detail down here. This is a lotted item, so it's showing me the lot number here. Once I'm done with those, I can also run a pre-post audit by item bin, and I'm going to take a look at my, let's look at my pallet one first. So here I can see the different items here, and I can see my ship bin here, which I didn't count. but here are my counts down here. I could get the pallet tags counted detail, and I can see the bin information. And I can close those when I'm done. Now, the one thing that's nice about this also is all of our reports here. You can also, when you're satisfied with this information, all of them you can export. You can export the top, you can export the bottom. So if I am going to focus on this guy and I want somebody to go recount and I'm displaying the tags down here, I can simply tell it to export the detail and say, go double check this because this is what the system has recorded. Or if I want to export the top parts because this is my final report or what I want to see, I can just export this. Now, I don't have, Excel isn't working on here. We'll export one in a little bit. But I can export to the either old or new version. I can export to PDF or text. Now, this is new in 567 with the PDF and the text. So, and that's what I'm running here. But you can export that, and that you can use to save for your final reports on any of your variance reports. Actually, anywhere in Agility Explorer in your grids, you can do that export and save that information off. So let's go take a look. Those are my variance reports. I look at those, I analyze those, I go do recounts if I need to until I get them down that I am satisfied with the variances that are showing. If I am serialized, I will go to my serial problems to review. And in my serial problems review, I do the same thing where I'm going to pull up my batch, and anything that's serialized will be showing in my serial problems to review. So in these, this is going to show me what it is in my count that for this particular item, this serial number, because I scanned the wrong serial number or my item got marked with the wrong serial number, I intentionally did this. It's telling me it is going to be added to the system for this particular item because that was the serial number that's on the box, and that's what I scanned. So it did not find that, and it is going to be added. So I can sort this. You can see down here, I did not scan this item, so it is missing out of my inventory. And it's telling me that this serial number is going to be deleted. And it will make adjustments to add and remove from my serial lot layer. And it will stamp that in history of what it did to that particular product. So I can sort this. Of course, I clicked on my item number to sort it by item number. And I can see by item number that one's added, one's deleted. That might make more sense to display it this way. When I look at my 128, I think that I had my barcodes that were set up and they don't quite match the system. So the 4 that I scanned, it's telling me that I am going to add these 4, and these that are in my system are wrong, and it is going to remove these for this 128. So obviously when I was entering them in, I used the wrong digit here in the serial number information. So I have corrected it here, and it's going to fix my serial number file. So when I look at the serial number problems to review, if I agree with this, I can also look at my serial variance by tag with my recount here. So again, I'm going to come to my filter, pull up the batch that I want to take a look at, and I'm going to click OK. And this is the same thing. It's another variance report, and it is showing me my serialized items, and it's giving me a serial variance review. So looking at this, I can see that here is, I don't have a count variance on 15. My quantity is right. I do have a problem with my serial numbers, and they're going to be fixed and adjusted. So I have the right quantity. I don't have the right numbers, but it's going to fix that when I do an adjustment there. The same thing with 24. Now, actually on 28, I counted one short because I'm missing one, and it's telling me that I am missing a serial number. And when I take a look at this, I can see that I am missing one. I happen to know it happens to be number 3, but you could do some research if that was of substance to have them double check and say that those serial number information is wrong. When I am happy that I have reviewed my serial numbers, I am going to come down here and I'm going to, in my cycle count posting, I need to first post serial numbers. So cycle count posting, serial numbers to be posted. When I pull this information up, I'm going to pull the batch up. And this information is in the WS serial tag file. So if I take a look at SQL, there is a WS serial tag file. And if I go on ahead and take a look at what's in there, this is the serial number information. When I post that, it's going to adjust my serial lot layer, and it will write that information to the serial tag history. So this is showing me with my serial lot posting everything that I have counted for a serial number. If it is yellow, it's telling me this is going to get added. And if it is C, this is a count, it exists, and it's green, it's a go. So I properly counted what was showing in my inventory. If it is red or if it's a D, it's saying that, hey, this was not found, and I'm going to delete it. So if you need to find it and you think it exists, then you need to go do that research before you do that final post. So once I have this in here, I'm going to post my tags, and yes, I am. And it's going to go do my adjustments, and it's telling me that everything has been posted and moved to history. Now, it shows all the deletes here. That's just kind of an anomaly of the way this is written, but they're actually technically all gone. So I've posted my serial numbers. And then if I'm just serialized and I'm not palletized and I don't have that, I would go to McCollough and post in McCollough. If I am doing pallets, I am going to open up my pallet. Oops, let's go look at our problems first. I have my pallet problems to review. And I'm going to pull up my batch. And then if I want to show everything, I check that box. If I only want to show what's in my batch, this is what I am going to count. So I have a pallet here that is my problems to review. And with 183, it said in inventory I should have 10, but I really only have 9. In this instance here, this is my ship bin, or I'm sorry, this is 186, and my pallet quantity was 7, but I actually entered in 186. Now, I probably want to go fix that, or if let's say that it's correct, I really do want it to be 186 because that's what I counted. When I check these, if I go look at my pallet layer, which is my package layer, it will adjust the quantity if this is correct, and this is what I want. I'm going to check one or the other. Maybe it's research and then I need to go fix it. Maybe I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say make an adjustment. That will adjust my pallet layer to what I said my counted quantity was. So I can actually make that adjustment here if I wish to make an adjustment here. I'm going to go to pallet VIN variance with a recount. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pull in up my pallet here. And so here is my 100 ship bin, and here is my pallets that I counted. Now, I know this is completely and totally wrong, and maybe I need to force a recount. And if I want to force a recount, I simply am going to select this bin number, and I can say recount here, and it will wipe that tag count out, and it will wipe the pallet count amount, and then you would send someone out to go do a recount and correct that quantity. So that's what you would do if you have an option of go recount that bin because it's not correct. We don't believe that's correct. So the other thing that once I have my variances and I am ready to post, I am going to go to my pallet counts to post. And I'm going to pull up my batch. And I can see that I have errors. I haven't fixed it, so it's not going to post. But I do have errors here. And I can go on ahead and I can try to post. And it's going to post those tags to history. And that is going to go adjust my pallet layers. And once I have the serial information done and I've posted my pallets, if I'm using either of those, or if I'm not using either, my next step would have been to go to McCollough. And in McCollough, I am going to go in and do my post count tags, just like I would if I had done all the entry inside of McCollough. So I'm going to pull off my batches, and then I'm going to go on ahead and run the post, just like I would in McCollough. So if I select my A, and I have to print my pre-post, and I'm just going to run that up the screen, and it's going to show me the McCollough pre-post, and then I can actually click my post, and I am done. And now if I'm serialized or palletized, it's been adjusted. If I'm not, I've done my final post, and I have used WiSys to enter my inventory count. And that is counting using the WiSys Agility Mobile and WiSys Agility Explorer to enter in your streamlined tag entry and to have your streamlined variance reports and be able to export them out to Excel.